Hello World Wide Web, I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair, and welcome to the March of the Clowns. Nothing like some clown-themed horror movies to round out the year, though observing this particular special month on and off over the years, the pickings are getting a tad bit slimmer. But weirdly, this special is one of the things the algorithm really seems to like, so who cares if you're scraping the bottom of the barrel if the robot overlords demand it? In that spirit, I present to you Blood Harvest, a classic low-budget 80s slasher starring Tiny Tim as Mervo the Clown. Seems in small-town America there has been a string of grisly murders. Her parents missing, Jill comes out from the city to find out what's going on. What's going on just so happens to be the body count rising. And all the while, Mervo is just, around, laughing, face painted in a perpetual smile. So, let's take a look at Blood Harvest and see if the old girl still kicks. The movie opens with what everyone wants. Tiny Tim singing all creepy-like, and people being murdered! A double homicide. Okay, now that we got your attention, it's time to move on to the actual, much more boring start of events. Jill, played by Etonia Salchek, is coming to visit her parents, but oh darn it, Daddy's been out foreclosing properties all over town and the people aren't too happy about it. But as it turns out...
Have you seen my dad?
No, I haven't.
How about my mom?
No, she hasn't been in.
Much like acting chops in this movie, her parents are nowhere to be found. In fact, the last time he was seen was when the sheriff had to drag him away from an angry mob in the last foreclosure auction.
What is with everybody?
The Robinson family isn't exactly popular around here right now.
And with the people not paying their debts, of course the bank is foreclosing their properties, and therefore the people hate the bank. And by extension, the people hate the bank's lawyers. And by extension, the people hate the bank's lawyer's family, and therefore they know that this random girl who just came into town today is the daughter of that guy who's been going around foreclosing their properties, and they hate her too! Except for Jill's friend here, that is, Sarah, played by Laurie Minetti. She's kind enough to drive Jill all the way to her family's homestead. But once Jill arrives, she finds the place has been vandalized with mildly aggressive notes. Even worse than that. She got jump scared by a friggin' scarecrow. Well, I guess now we found out who's been flagging all these videos for shocking content. Understandably on edge, Jill slowly sneaks around, terrified.
Who in the hell are you? And what are you doing in this house?
I just come to welcome you home, Jill.
Or just kind of annoyed. I mean, come on, it's Tiny Tim, cute and cuddly as ever. She does realize this is Merv, the marvelous Mervo, quickly enough, but never mind that, she's still terrified.
What the hell is going on around here? And who did that?
I brought you some flowers, Jill.
And part of Merv being completely harmless and cuddly is the fact that he is absolutely insane. Oh, that's just Merv. He's just there, face painted like a clown, laughing all the time. Should not be left unattended. Cute. Not to worry, for Merv's brother is here as well. Gary, played by Dean West.
Have you seen my parents?
Yeah, I saw your father yesterday. He even spoke to me for once. 3 words. Go to hell.
A childhood friend of Jill's, but not exactly on the best terms with her parents. And he's just, hanging around their house with his demented brother, as you do. So that's it then. Her parents are missing, Merv has lost his marbles, and Gary has to take care of him. Gary also offers to swing by later and make sure that Jill is alright, but for now, Jill is all alone in a big, spooky house. But the phone rings!
Fuck you, bitch.
Man, Ghostface isn't even trying anymore. The brick through the window does scare her, though. So confused and frightened, Jill rushes out into the woods. But wait! There is someone else out here as well, so she must run! Just not fast enough. 11 minutes. Now, I really thought she was going to last longer than that. Oh, silly goose. This was just a paintball. And might I just say, having actually been shot in the face by a paintball before, oh hell fucking no, that wouldn't be something to just laugh about.
What are you doing out here anyway?
Well, I was trying to get into town.
I just figured if I was being targeted by some crazy slasher villain, the best thing to do would be stay off the main roads, especially in the middle of the day. Just run like an asshole through the woods, what of it? Fortunately, one of her assailants offers to take her the rest of the way in his FISO, but that's not without its own problems, of course.
So how about I make it up to you on a date?
Sorry, but I'm engaged.
How about some meaningless sex?
Boy, what is the ruckus? Are the old Johnson boys trying to mate with that Robinson girl? Well, then I hate him too. Jill came to town to tell the sheriff, played by Frank Benson, that people are throwing rocks through her windows, desecrating her family home, and murdering the scarecrows.
Where is my father? Where is my mother?
Well, they're not under here. How the heck do I know?
Problem is the sheriff doesn't really give a fuck. He doesn't know where her parents are, and frankly, he doesn't care. Especially having to give up his softball for this police work bullshit. Bored yet? Don't worry. Mervo the Clown is here to reveal that he has a captive.
Are you hungry? Are you comfortable?
You know, honestly, Merv, I'm getting a bit of a cramp. You mind if I go for a run? And just keep running? Enough excitement. It's back with Jill and friends. Looky here, there's nothing painted on the house. No scarecrow, and even more damning, that broke window has fixed itself already too. Well, the sheriff knows just what to do. Say fuck it and leave. This ain't creepy enough though, so let's watch Mervo crying in church. But why?
Oh, my parents.
Oh, right. Parents are dead. Oh, Mervo, that happens to a lot of us. Okay, that's our unease, but what about a scare? Oh, calm down. Tara does that all the time. Not to worry, for Gary has arrived to make sure she's okay. Also, surprise! He's the guy who cleaned up the house. Completely destroying all that evidence, but oh well. He tries to reassure her that her missing parents probably just skipped town for the weekend so everyone can calm down about losing their homes or something. Enough of that, let's go frolicking for a bit. Remember this tree house? Lots of childhood memories here. They planned it. They built it. And Gary might have gotten a sweet piece of Jill ass if her father didn't show up at the worst possible moment.
I thought I was gonna die from embarrassment.
I thought he was gonna kill me.
Hey, let's face it, this treehouse doesn't exactly look like the most structurally secure place to be engaging in such activities, so you probably saved both your lives. Jill quickly changes the subject to how Gary's parents got horribly murdered. Didn't find the bodies for 3 days. No idea who did it. And the tragedy left Merv even crazier, so Gary has to care for him now.
Yeah, I've noticed. It's gotten stranger.
That's enough brooding about unsolved murders in the family. Let's get back to that frolicking. Yeah, Gary's parents are dead. No one knows who did it. And his brother's gone off the deep end, but everything's gonna be okay now that his childhood sweetheart Jill is back. Except she breaks it to him that she kinda sorta got engaged while out of town, so hope that doesn't spoil their special friendship. No worries, he says he's fine. Yep, just fine. F-I-N-E, fine! Never better!
Gary fell down and broke his crown. And Jill came tumbling after.
But you can't get Tiny Tim playing a clown in your horror movie and not have him playing ukulele and singing falsetto throughout. Jill still can't seem to figure out where her parents are, and as she is growing increasingly concerned, decides to go take a shower. Nothing like getting good and naked to up the spooky factor. And there being a random intruder cutting off the cold water while she does so. Awful lot to go through. We could have just flushed the toilet. Just for the record, we're like 24 minutes into this movie, and that phone call was the last time we'll see Jill wear pants for a while. But you don't need clothes in order to be terrified of a trespassing Tiny Tim! For 2 seconds, then you remember exactly what he is to you.
I'm a tree.
A friend. Merv is a good friend. But he starts getting a little too friendly, and Jill has to remind him to keep his branches to himself. Such harsh rejection gets him to leave. Which is good. But that night, she hears mysterious squeaking out in the lawn, so she calls the sheriff for help.
There goes the damn poker game.
Damn, kids. I understand the body count and rampant crime is scary and all. This is a slasher movie. Don't they realize the police are downright useless in these? No bother, her fiancé Scott can call her up out of the blue and show us that he's even more useless.
My folks are gone. Nobody has seen them since the auction. Somebody threw a brick through our window,
And now there's somebody outside.
What are you talking about?
A string of crimes and a mystery surrounding my fiancée and her family? Sounds like a whole lot of I don't give a shit.
Talk to me. The sound of your voice is so good.
You are doing fine, sweetheart.
Oh yeah, baby, hit me with that apathetic reassurance. But then the squeaking suddenly stops. Not only that, there is a knock at the door. From Sheriff Buckley.
It's the sheriff. I've got to go. I love you.
I love you too.
Frickin' Scott over here making it look like she's given an Oscar-worthy performance in comparison. Surprise! It was the clown. Thus, she has him taken home and gets ready for bed. But the intruder is in fact still here, using chloroform to make her go from asleep to asleep. And then just tearing her clothes off and taking a bunch of raunchy pictures. Okay, first of all, it's very impressive that you got those developed so fast and at just the perfect angles to line those four up exactly right. Second, when you were taking those pictures, she didn't have a bra on, so where the hell did that come from? But that morning, someone creeps up in her bed. Surprise! It's her fiancé, Scott, played by Peter Krause. So never mind all that terror and mystery, it's time for more frolicking. But oh darn it, Scott's sexy ways are sidetracked by a sudden phone call from Sarah. She's gonna come and hang out, so Scott decides, fuck it, he wants a beer. We just now established he's a bit of a drinker, but Jill just now establishes that her folks don't believe in alcohol, therefore, he's gonna have to go head into town if he wants to get hammered. But what's this? Scott sees a random man running around Jill's yard. Moving forward to investigate. He finds out in no uncertain terms that, yes, that man was dangerous. Thus, he is dragged into the barn and strung up. On a totally unrelated note, Gary shows up shortly afterward, says he saw some mysterious unknown car in her driveway and had to make sure she was okay. Well, no reason not to be hospitable, or to ever put on pants. Just have some coffee and talk about the good old days.
Oh, my dad didn't interrupt us. I wonder if it would have been you and me instead of Scott and me.
Hey, if your love for Gary wasn't strong enough to stop you from tripping over the first big city dick you came across, let's be honest here and say it was never that big to begin with. But Merv is still freaking Jill out, so Gary drags him inside to apologize. And he just upstages them instead.
I still fly like I used to. High in the trapeze, looking down on the tiny ants below.
It's like the movie realizes that Tiny Tim is like the only reason any of us are watching, so they gotta trickle him out little by little as the movie progresses. But he does talk about how Jill's parents killed all his friends.
He's talking about the animals, Jill. You know how he used to sit around for hours just talking to them?
No, I think, again, you just brought it up now because it's kind of important, the plot all of a sudden. You know, you can establish certain things ahead of time for later scenes. It helps the film not feel so haphazardly thrown together. Even though it was scripted in 3 weeks and filmed in a day. Never mind that for now. Sarah is here and Gary needs to take Merv home. So, what do? Spend the entire day talking about how awesome Scott is while never actually getting to meet him as he never came back from town. Weird. Oh well, Sarah's gotta head to work. And Jill has to hurry up and turn on the loudest, most obnoxious music she can. Makes it easier to explain how she can't hear the screams. As Sarah is attacked! And instead of heading back inside, decides to run away from the house, tripping and heading into the dilapidated barn. I'll give the killer this much. He understands that in this genre, you need variety. But you also need to have a shtick to tie it all together, so Sarah is strung up, stripped down, and her throat is slashed. Right before, hey, Gary's back, and wouldn't you know it, he just can't find his silly clown brother anywhere. He's worried that Merv might have done something. Also, Scott's not back, so Jill's gonna call Sarah and see if she's seen him.
She knows him?
Oh, she saw a photograph.
He didn't show me one.
Oh, Gary.
What's good enough for Sarah is good enough for me.
Yeah, Jill, where the hell was my slumber party and leg lotion? Calling around, Jill is confused. No one has seen Scott, and now it seems that Sarah has vanished as well. Gary says, hey, don't worry. They probably just bumped into each other, fell madly in love, and ran the fuck off, leaving you in the dust, and neither of them really cared about you anyway. Well, this is going nowhere, so he's gotta go home and see if Merv has shown up. But he's still there for Jill no matter what.
If you need any help, just whistle. Yeah.
Did someone tell that poor woman that they were going to fix that in post? So Gary heads out, and poor Jill cries herself to sleep. However, once she's out cold, the bad guy returns, chloroform in hand, waking her up to put her to sleep. That way, he can carry her down to the barn where Scott's been hanging out this whole time, torturing him with the knowledge that bad guy can touch those legs. But wait, a police siren is nearby, so bad guy must hurry and take Jill's ass back to the house. I don't know why, because the sheriff just shows up, sees nothing, and leaves. Which means bad guy could have just stayed in the barn and there would have been no difference, except it would have been safer and he'd have less chance of getting caught. And why was the sheriff down there anyway? No one called him and he never seemed to be the most concerned individual. Too bad, too, because Scott is murdered next, bleeding like a pig. See? That bucket of blood manages to find its way into Jill's refrigerator, splashing all over. But Gary shows up weirdly fast and takes the shocked woman right into the bath, where he disrobes her, gropes her, and she just falls the fuck asleep, and he carries her back to the couch, and he gets naked. And no, I'm not gonna get the dolls out for this. This is a far more effective way of showing just how awkward it was. Before he can get quite as far as he'd like, though, she comes to and flatly rejects him. Way too fucking extreme advances. It's cool, he understands, and will go now.
I won't be far away.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Gary, this is exactly what I was talking about. In a considerably less disturbing scene, Merv is slipping even further into madness, as evidenced by him removing the clown makeup. That's shocking enough to get Jill to put her pants back on. Merv has arrived and he has something to show Jill, and she simply must go. Hey, guess what? Gary's the psycho! Who could have seen that one coming? Seems Gary and Merv's mother and father offed themselves after the foreclosure, but Gary made it look like murder to harvest sympathy from the hapless masses. Because who cares about dead parents unless there's a third party involved, I guess? But Gary arrives and attacks! Oh, would you look at this, a handy-dandy gun! But we still got 15 minutes of movie left, so of course she shoots the guy trying to help her and leaves the homicidal maniac relatively unharmed. Unsurprisingly, Gary is perfectly happy with Merv dying. That means it's just him and Jill, just like he always wanted.
I have a family. And a dog. Here. I'm sorry, Jill. Maybe you don't like dogs.
And we're just gonna assume she's okay with the lying, the rampant murder, the complete disregard for personal space and boundaries. But you gotta be careful about picking exactly what her preference is in fur babies. She plays along like they're gonna go off and elope. Of course, that's just because she wants the chance to escape, running wildly away as he slowly walks after her, and she just heads to the damn barn anyway, where she can see, surprise, all your friends are dead. Mommy, Daddy, Sarah, and Scott all hung up and bled dry, like he was harvesting blood. A blood harvest, if you will.
But now I've got to finish what I've started.
No, you can leave that nice and unfinished, thank you very much. Thankfully, he meant murdering people and giving a nice, long villain rant so that Jill has the time to dive away and stab his arm. Now, she could easily just keep stabbing and finish him off. We still got like 10 minutes of running time to fill out, so she must run, and he must slowly walk in pursuit. Again. Now, while we get some nice, creepy, crazy Gary scenes here, in terms of progressing events, it doesn't really lead anywhere. Gary gets Jill back, and then it's right back to the farm so he can tie her up again and finish murdering her like he was just about to do. But Merv has come to save the day! What an idea. Got a crazy psycho slasher problem? Try shooting the bastard. Therefore, happy ending! Ish. Yeah, everyone is dead, spare Jill and Merv isn't exactly innocent here. He was helping Gary for a lot of this, but hey, he doesn't have to be sane to come to his senses, freeing Jill and apologizing for that whole horror movie thing she just went through. What's this? Gary is still alive! Which is honestly surprising. I mean, yeah, he was clearly breathing, but so were the other 4 corpses. Anyway, that was Blood Harvest. Now, it's not good by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not the worst movie I've ever seen. Let's get this out of the way first. The movie is low quality, even for a B-movie horror flick. Acting chops were clearly an afterthought when finding cast members, and the movie obviously tries to make up for its lack of creativity and skill with gratuitous TNA, and boy, howdy is it gratuitous. That's the thing though, the horror aspects are very subdued and the best actors on set, Tiny Tim and the Sheriff, really don't get all that much screen time between them, and you gotta work with what you have, and apparently we had a lead actress who they could convince to not wear pants for over half the running time. But we still have Tiny Tim, and he does steal the show for the few scenes he's trickled throughout the movie. As a sort of red herring, but not really, and let's be honest, it was painfully obvious that Gary was the big bad all along, even if you pretend the stocking-faced man we see doing all the killing didn't obviously look like Gary. So we've got poor acting, a relatively small body count, a mystery with no mystery to it, and an overall plot that really isn't anything special. That's kind of what makes this special, just the fact that it is absolute trash. And every now and again, boom, here's Tiny Tim to actually be legitimately frightening. Let's be honest here, one of the reasons I watch so many bad movies is because I honestly love bad movies. I think all of us who grew up on MST3K have an appreciation for films that aim low and still fail to hit that mark. Without Tiny Tim, I'm pretty sure nobody would remember this movie, but with him, hell, it gives guys like me a reason to bring it up 35 years later and torment a whole new generation, leaving people to wonder how and why it was ever made. Coming in at 2 bouquets of wildflowers out of 5. I love it. Thank you all for watching. I've been Dr. Shado. And remember, check your drawers for your cat before bed. They gotta use the litter box sometimes.
MagicInspiration.com.
Good night, ladies. Good night, ladies. Good night, ladies. It's time for us to go.
Here we go again.